All right, guys, what's going on? It's Jack, and welcome back to another video. And just like in my previous video where I mentioned I could sense something was coming and I didn't just know exactly what it is, well, we have our first sort of response to that in the form of a tweet by Mark Rubin that was made a few hours ago before the time of this recording. So I'm going to put it up on screen. I'm going to read it to you, and then we will have our conversation about it because, quite frankly, I believe it says just a little bit more than what seems on the surface, as well as one response to a tweet that somebody responded to this that Mark Rubin just happened to respond to. That I'll get into that as well. So Mark Rubin posted this. Happy New Year, everyone. I hope everyone had a great holiday. The team is getting back into the office this week, and we are ready for a great year. We will have some more specific news in the next couple of weeks as we get ready for launch, but the quick update on our progress is 1. We have addressed the weird issues that were affecting netcode. See previous update for more info. And we will continue to improve and test our netcode before and after launch. And 2, we've implemented the new party system and are now putting it through rigorous testing and bug fixing as we get ready for launch. I also want to give a shout out to those team members who work through the holidays. Much of our team is working on future content, but many of those that are working on getting the game ready to ship did put in some hours over the holidays, and I want to recognize their dedication. We try very hard to not be a crunch studio as we care about our people and their families. The whole team is very dedicated to XDefiant, and we are super excited to launch this game. Now, first and foremost, thank you to Mark Rubin for giving us an update, especially since it's been quite a while since the last time he's given us an update, at least from what I understand, from what I can remember. It's been like, what, 2 to 3 weeks? And then we had the holidays, and now here we stand. And it is the 2nd of January, and Mark has already posted. So the wheels are already starting to turn, and people are starting to get back in the office. And things are starting to happen. Now, the one thing that I mentioned that kind of stood out to me, well, there's actually a couple things that stood out to me in this particular tweet update. And that is, number one, that a portion of the team that is actually getting the game ready for launch and that is actually not working on content actually put in some hours over the holidays. Now, I don't know about you guys, but that's dedication. Now, I know that there are those of us, like myself included, that have also worked during the holidays. However, when it comes to the line of work for a lot of game developers out there, well, maybe possibly except for Activision employees, because that's just Activision. Again, I'm not sure about that, but you guys know the deal. Other than those guys, and I would say, you know, the vast majority of developers that work in that line of work basically all take the holidays off. It's like one of the few times that they actually have to take off, because the rest of the time they're just working their butts off to get games ready, and games are just getting more time consuming to make and more complicated to make, etc., etc. So for the fact that they took a portion of their holiday just to get us one step closer ready to launch to meet a certain window, I think that's also what it is. It's like, I think it's also because they also wanted to meet a certain window, and they wanted to dot a few I's, cross a few T's and such before they actually took their holiday time. So as a person that not only works holidays himself, but also as a person who tries to see behind the curtain of what goes on when it comes to this whole gaming thing, I have to tip my hat to the team and say thank you for your dedication. And if this actually helps push the game to release sooner or within the time period that you guys have planned that we don't know about yet, as someone who's looking forward to your game, I just want to say thank you very much for that dedication and for that sacrifice. And the other thing that I also mentioned is that you guys know how Mark kind of gives little jabs here and there to other publishers or whatnot in terms of how they treat their developers or whatnot. This is kind of what I took from this. Now, I could very well be wrong. I'm not trying to put words in the man's mouth or anything like that, but this is kind of the vibe that I also got from when I read this after I thought about it. And he basically says here, I'll say it one more time. He says, we try very hard not to be a crunch studio as we care about our people and their families. See, so that basically just shows you right there. It's like, you know, if the people are happy, if your developers are happier, you're going to have a better game. You're going to have a happier game. You're going to have a happier community. It all kind of goes hand in hand. Now, I am actually going to look at, there was one response to this that somebody asked, and Mark actually responded to them. And I'm actually going to read that right now. And one guy that goes by Grandpa Hacks basically said, "Hi Mark, happy new year. Genuine question for you. When XDefiant is released, will your team allow the largest streamers / creators who are pushing your game to closet cheat to make the game seem more appealing? Or will you stay away from the Activision model? Thanks." And Mark Rubin responded to this by saying, "No cheating will be tolerated by anyone for any reason, except for me grinding skins." Now, obviously, he was trolling when saying that. I love the man's sense of humor. He really is one of us, especially if you've pretty much read a lot of the tweets that were mentioned between him and a few other people. You can actually tell that he's actually one of us. And not only that, like from what I've seen and read, he's actually pretty good at his own game, which just goes to show that he actually has played these kind of games for a long time before. It's not just a guy that just focuses on the development, but he's also a guy who also like plays a game. It's kind of like having a personal trainer. Have you guys ever seen some personal trainers that are just out of shape? I'm sure you guys have. You've seen trainers that are in shape and out of shape, but for those trainers that are out of shape, despite the fact that they know what they're doing, at least I would hope they do, I would also say like it just makes it that much more better and a lot more credible and a lot more believable when your personal trainer is in shape, because they actually have a passion what they're doing. They basically lead by example. You know what I mean? So yeah, I mean, it's as simple as that. You got to practice what you preach. And that is another thing that I personally think is very important. So yeah, that sense of humor also kind of goes hand in hand with that. And this, looking at this now, this also makes me believe why, you know how I said how he was kind of maybe possibly throwing jabs at Activision or whatnot in terms of how they treat their employees. I think that's possibly a reason of why he particularly answered this question. Now, again, I'm not putting the words in the man's mouth, but I'm just trying to read between the lines, and I'm saying that this could be possible as to why. But of course, credit to where credit's due. It was a legit question, and it was a good question. So, which was in and of itself worthy of a response. But it could be a possibility that, you know, when he asked, "Will you stray away from the Activision model?" Was something that was, I think it was a little bit more compelling for Mr. Rubin to answer that question, so to speak. So I love that, and I love the response. And now, here is what I'm looking. Now, we are going to be getting, according to this little update, we are going to be getting another update in the next couple of weeks. So we're looking at possibly the end, like within the next couple weeks, right? In the next couple weeks. So I'd say about mid-month or so, somewhere around there, anywhere from like a Monday through a Friday, I would say we are going to get another update. Now, what that other update is going to entail, I'm not sure. But all I know is that it is in the plans. As Mark himself had mentioned, it is in the plans for them to actually have one more play session going. And hopefully it won't just be for PC. Now, please don't get me wrong. I'm all about the PC fan base. I mean, I myself have a PC. Okay, that's capable of also playing the game and streaming and all I need to do content creation wise. I'm not against any platform in that aspect at all, in any aspect actually. However, I think it's also more important that we have an all around platform play test, so that way everybody can experience the game, and at the same time the devs can get a full-on feedback, so that way if there is a problem for a specific platform, they can fix it, because I don't want anybody for any platform on release to be lacking in any sort of way. I personally want, and I'm sure the developers want this as well, I'm sure they want everybody to have pretty much the same smooth experience as they can possibly have, right? Now, with that being said, I also want to be able to feel the difference, because they've switched their servers over to Linux, and we have yet to have a play session, a wide play session, now that they've switched their servers over to Linux. And another thing that would be good is it would be really good for exposure of the game and promotion of the game as well, because having that beta out there, that open beta, the final play session for everybody, is basically like a promotion. It's better than, don't get me wrong, trailers and updates like this from Mark Rubin are terrific, don't get me wrong, especially for our community that's very passionate about the game in the first place, right? They're just inching for any information, making speculations, tweeting about it, talking about it, having the Discord, which, believe it or not, I'm actually not a part of. I'm not a part of the XDefiant Discord, and I feel like I should be. But anyway, back on to the main topic here. But you guys get the point, right? Ultimately, whichever way you look at it, whether it's for promotional purposes or just to make sure that the game truly is as polished as you want it to be before launch and making all the preparations to do so, obviously having the next play session would make sense. So I would say my prediction right now, and hopefully this, what I'm about to say, ages very well. My prediction is that when we get the update in the next couple of weeks, the update is going to not only give us news on exactly where we are at that particular moment, but it's also going to give us news about what's coming next, which makes all the sense in the world for it to be a play session. And then after the play session, it should be on to release, which I personally don't think it should take as much time because they've already done a submission, which took longer, but because they've already passed all submissions after that or something like that, that it's going to be shorter this time. So it's not going to take up, like when they submit again for release, it's not going to take like anywhere from like, let's say, 2 or 3 weeks or something like that. It might take 1 week or slightly less because they've already done everything else that was kind of a red flag before release. So they've already taken care of a lot of that. So I would say we're on good track at this point. So these next couple of weeks are, when you look at it, is actually the most exciting because I think the community is ready for another play session. Now, obviously the community wants to release, but at the same time, it makes all the sense in the world for the next thing that come into place to be the play session. It looks like they're just pretty much gearing up and getting ready for that because everything is switched over to Linux. We're ready to go. So these next couple of weeks are basically all about getting everything ready for that play session. And then once that play session goes smoothly, it's like the last step before launch, right? Think of it as the last study session before a big exam or whatnot. And obviously that big exam is the release of the game. And when the release of the game actually happens at all, during its time of release, we will, as a community, decide whether the game is a pass or a fail. And as of right now, it's I'm going to be realistic. As excited as I am and as supportive as I am for the game, I am going to be realistic, and I'm just going to say that things are looking good, but at the same time, you can only hope for the best, but you cannot predict whether the game will pass or fail. But I have faith, and I have not just faith, but I've also got like plenty of logical reasons as to why I believe that the game will indeed pass and thrive if it plays its cards correctly and continues to do so after launch. But with that being said, guys, that pretty much ends it here. I want you guys to know, I want you guys to tell me down in the comment section what your predictions are. What do you guys think the next update is going to be in the next couple of weeks? And where do you guys think we go from there? And that's pretty much it. I'd like to thank everybody for taking the time to watch and or listen. I'm looking forward to reading your comments in the comments section down below. Thank you very much, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.